stream. হ্যাঁ, শুরু হয়েছে। এই স্ক্রিন দেখাচ্ছে কেন? ওয়েট, কারেন্ট স্ক্রিনে নিয়ে আসি। অ্যাক্টিভ হাউ ডু আই অ্যাক্টিভ দিস? চেঞ্জ লেয়ার। ও আচ্ছা, এটা তো ওই যে এটা টাইনে এনে আনে দিলেই হয়। Okay, so before we start the session, I think we need a little bit of a detailed recap.
Chairs and table.
So to start with, from a little bit further behind in the storyline, after entering the Arcanium, you guys went through a series of unusual events just to re-jog your memories. আচ্ছা, নয়েজ আসতেছে তাসিফ। মিউট রাখ। You guys saw statues, figurines, dolls coming to life. You saw people with certain fates waking up from their graves. You guys rescued a few of the people by yourselves, and others were rescued by the city guards upon your notice. Later, you guys came up with some interesting hypotheses. Arvan believes that during the events of the first sundering, when the world was split into two, although the gods were given Toril and the primordials were given Avir, the same was not possible for the earth goddess Shantia herself. As such, she was split into two along with the world itself. And both parts took the name Shantia and became the goddess of the respective worlds. But eventually, due to some actions of the king of Cormyr, an event took place in the Iceland of Abir inside the Andal Sea, which Ego seems to be familiar of. And through the guidance of the Raven Queen, you deciphered that in that event, somehow the elder goddess of Avir, Shantia, the half that remained or was cloned into Abir, was actually forced and crossed the planar veil, and her memories were also fragmented in the process and scattered around the world. And so that's why Toril was drowning with life, while Avir was decaying without its goddess. And later, due to some disturbances, you guys went underneath the city to investigate and found that they were trying to revive, or to be exact, restore someone. And Ithenia's missing statue perhaps had something to do with it, as it was also located somewhere in the dungeon underneath the city. And on your way, you guys encountered two people, one named Ashford, the same as your own party member, and another named Lina. The Dwarven figure was the one that is called Ashford, an artificer, and the other one, the monk woman around the age of maybe mid 30. She was called Lina. You guys fought a little bit together, and you guys then further continued deeper into the dungeon. And eventually, you guys uh, came to what seemed like a chamber, a big hallway. And You found what seemed like a dead body of a person whom Ego identified as a relative from his mother's side. But at the same time, Niratha also identified her as the person who was meeting with Velmorax during his ascension, a figure that was even kept secret from the other paragons themselves. But nonetheless, the body was found dead in the hallway. You guys did some magics and tried to talk with it, and found that another entity was inhabiting her body. And perhaps after she was not needed anymore, she was discarded. You
Yes.
also found that the dead body also had a big chunk of flesh missing around her shoulder, as if something was tore out from the flesh itself. As you head deeper, you find yourself inside what resembles like a huge throne room. And inside the throne room, a battle ensued with what seemed like the porcelain statue of Athenia herself. The statue had a green glowing leaf trapped inside her staff, wrapped around by this shadowy looking sickles. And it was almost seemed like the sickles were tearing apart the leaf itself slowly. And Arvan identified it as a leaf from the divine tree that existed in both Avir and Toril, which also had its roots in Avir and thought that it was boring its food in Toril. It was a tree that also came into the conversation with Velmorax prior to coming to Arcanium. Anyway, as the fight ensued, the statue eventually crumbled, and although the party took some damages as well, but nonetheless, a new figure emerged from inside the statue itself. And Ashford right away knew the person. It was Erin. The fight paused, but she gave a condition. She wanted the glowing leaf back, which you guys had snatched from her in the prior fight. And for some reason, she also wanted Ashford to be on her side. She was willing to forgive the betrayal Ashford made against her. At least that's what she said. But you feel like that in the core of all the demands she was making, Ashford was a central part of it. But if that last part was not met, she also vowed that she will extract her vengeance through the means of taking a life from your party, whom she thinks that Ashford's might be mm, endearing in his heart. But she still agreed to explain this time, unlike the last time. Anyways, you all chose to talk and returned the leaf or the divine tree to her. Hmm? Hmm. And and as you return the leaf, you guys gathered around near the center of the throne room. You
Ashford is the closest party member ego na.
perhaps
আমি তো জানতাম ওই গোর সাথে অনেক যায় অ্যাশফোর্ড। এনিওয়েজ,
so
হুম
and
আমি তো
as everyone gathers
আমি তো
around.
আমি তো অ্যাশফোর্ডের কোলে ঘুরে বেড়াই না।
And as everyone gathered around in the middle, a conversation was about to start, and that is where we left our focus.
আপনি
So
না গুডের
now,
জন্য এনিথিং করবেন, তো গুডের জন্য এটা করেন।
so
গুডের
now,
জন্য করব, স্লাইমের জন্য না।
so now you all are gathered around the center of the throne room with Erin, and
আচ্ছা, গণভোট,
everything shall
গণভোটে
now.
গণভোটে জয়ী, গণভোটে জয়ী, গণভোটে জয়ী, শেষ।
So you all gathered around the center of the throne room, and you see like Erin with the two other figure, Ashford and Lena, beside her. And for some reason, Ashford and Lena surprisingly seems to be loyal to Erin. Not your Ashford,
তাহলে
but
দুই
rather
ইউজলেস,
artificer.
বুঝতে পারছি দুই ইউজলেস, পুরো ব্যাটল বালডাও ছেড়ে নাই।
And you also see the druid that was healing the statue just behind her. You still do not see the old wizard you initially saw when entering the room. He said that he was going to check something and moved away from the room. As the scenario takes place, she looks towards you and she looks towards Reason or Ashford, and she goes, "Before we talk, I believe we need some form of privacy." And you see, she doesn't wait for a reply and right away holds the staff, and you see the chains around the leaf starts to unwrap and almost start to glimmer in this gloomy light. Rather than shedding a light, it almost looks like it's absorbing the light around it. And you see, she goes, "Oh, the Lord of eternal release and the end of all names. Let the God's gaze not be a thorn in the roads of the final salvation." And just as she says that, you see shades of color around you guys become dimmer and it becomes dead silent. You see a veil of dim light surrounds the area, about roughly 40 feet centered around her, or the staff to be exact. And she goes, "Now, even the gods cannot gaze upon us."
I take a pen, bring out the book and start writing.
Okay.
DM, he
Hmm?
said like something like 10 minutes, right?
Mm,
Like 10 minutes of time to converse or something like that.
a 10-minute time was left for your কি বলে ব্লেসিং। 10 মিনিট
টেন
বাকি ছিল।
মিনিট
ব্লেসিং বাকি ছিল হচ্ছে আরভান আর হচ্ছে সাইলাসের উপরে
না
যে
না
ব্লেসিং
না
ছিল।
না 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 আমার যত মনে পড়ে ও ও
হ্যাঁ
নিজে
হ্যাঁ
মানে
ও
রোল প্লে।
ও নিজে বলছিল যে আই ক্যান স্পেয়ার 10 more minutes.
ইয়েস ইয়েস ইয়েস।
So it
So
kind of
in the
aligns.
group chat and like 10 more minutes something might happen after 10 minutes.
Someone might die after 10 minutes.
Let's try to. Are we really going to give the leaf?
You already gave it.
No,
Yeah,
we gave the leaf, but we're not giving away Ashford. That's for sure.
I feel
So
like giving the leaf was a bad idea.
Yeah, suck on your leaf. We have a
you guys
greater threat on our Ashford now.
I recall you guys still have the telepathy on, right?
Yeah, we have.
Yes, this is not a conversation. Of course not.
Okay. And as this happens, Ashford, you also feel your connection with the divinity you follow almost seems to have weakened. And a similar sense that makes you aware that probably your divination spell will not also work here as well.
Wait, Yeti spell.
Arvan, from what it seemed like, it did not seem like a spell, rather a request from what seemed like this stone that was embedded on top of the staff itself.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not
It
it's not
seems
directly
like,
magic. I
yeah,
mean,
it seems like,
let me say. So it's not directly a spell, but it's kind of magic.
yes.
Okay.
And it awfully resembled like how the clerics would help from their deities. But this
Okay.
one doesn't seem
Uh,
like as much prominent as perhaps a like battle
Divine
changing
intervention.
into divine
Yeah.
intervention. Nonetheless, it took place, and
ওরে আল্লাহ রে, খাট সেটিং করতেছে নাকি?
আচ্ছা হ্যাঁ, না, ভেলমোরাক্সের অনলি ফিলিং যেটা সেম সেটা হচ্ছে ডিভিনেশন স্পেল কাজ করবে না, দ্যাটস অল, আর কিছু না। এখানেও সেম, ডিভিনেশন স্পেল কাজ করবে না। হ্যাঁ 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 হ্যাঁ, বাট ইউ ডু নট ফিল দ্য সিমিলার প্রেজেন্স অফ ভেলমোরাক্স হিয়ার। হ্যাঁ 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 হ্যাঁ, বাট সেম জিনিস। অ্যান্ড she goes this time, one more thing, aside from Ashford, the others, you feel this silence and the atmosphere itself starts to give you this eerie feeling of dread, and you all feel quite uneasy, aside from Ashford, of course. But nonetheless, it does not seem to have a notable negative impact as well, other than the eerie feeling itself. And as that take place, she then starts to talk. And she goes, well, I did say I will explain this time, but before I do that, looking at Reason, she goes, do you perhaps have anything to ask before I start? And do your friends perhaps need an introduction? After all, you aside, this is our first time meeting, looking at the others.
By the way, do I remember from our conversation or anything about Ashford's past being this girl or so?
Mm, I would say from the description, you have a rough idea that this is does seem like that person, but you're not quite sure as well.
You will ask Ashford then. Is it that thing, Ashford? The
আচ্ছা,
the apostle.
নাবি তোর সাউন্ড অনেক কম আসতেছে। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, শোনা যাচ্ছে। আচ্ছা, ওয়ান মোর থিং, এইখানে যে স্ট্যাচুটা আছে, দিস স্ট্যাচু ইজ নট দেয়ার। I think I have already described how the person looked, but I will describe it again.
Yeah, go.
1 second. Yes, yes. Yeah. Where was the reason? Hmm. So, I said that there was a figure that emerged out of the statue itself. And currently, there is not the statue, a different figure, but as I am on Roll20, I don't have that token and everything ready. So, you all just have to imagine this one. So, you all see in place of the statue a tall high elf with long white hair worn loose behind her back. The skin seems to be fair, and the pupils almost dilated in this dark purple hue. And the dress itself seems to be a flowing purple garment. And beneath the garment itself, there seems to be black coat wrapped around. And you see that she is still holding onto the staff, but unlike previously, where the staff was matching the size of the statue itself, a huge staff, it shrunk down to the size of this current person, which is the similar size as you all, or around the same size, perhaps few inches taller than most of you. But for a woman, that's quite tall. And you also see that the crown that was on top of the statue itself, that's also not present. You saw that the crown had like this 5 shards that were circled around the crown. But when the crown actually broke down, the shards almost got impaled inside the statue itself. And right after that, the actual figure came out of the statue itself. So the crown is not present, but the elven figure, quite beautiful in the sense of traditional beauty, but there are a mixed amount of races here, so the preference could be different. Mhm.
The apostle. Why are we talking? We either give our life here and or kill it.
দীপ, আমি শুনতে পাচ্ছি না প্লিজ আর কেউ।
আমিও শুনতে পাইনি, কি বলছিস আরেকবার একটু বল।
দীপ,
হুম।
একটু আমি ম্যাক্স দিয়ে রাখছি তোমার ইয়েটা, কিন্তু
ও, এইবার মনে হয় হ্যাঁ, এবার একটু ইয়ে আছে। হ্যাঁ, বল।
I just wanted to. Okay.
I listen to that. I look around. I see other people's life at danger as well. I shut down.
He again repeats and goes, do they need to know about who I am, or do you want to just listen and perhaps then decide? Well, to start with, the reason I could not tell you before is because
I whispered because you are
it
a bitch.
because it was not a knowledge.
You don't need to whisper. We are in a group chat, you know.
No, no, no. I want her if she can hear.
Okay.
Okay. So you see, like she goes, it was not a knowledge that I passed to anyone rather than not just to you, because there were some entity that had their eyes on me, and it was only me who could have kept the knowledge in my mind without harming others or take them in the chaos that I myself was going through.
Yes.
Uh,
But that, but that
DM.
is. Oh, sorry, you have to say echo.
ইয়ে ডিএম হ্যালো।
Hmm?
আচ্ছা আমার উপর তো হেস্ট ক্যাশ ছিল রাইট, সো ওটা তো ক্লিয়ার হয়ে গেছে নাকি?
Yeah, yeah.
ওটা শেষ হয়ে আবার ঠিকও হয়ে গেছেন, সমস্যা।
ও দেন ইটস ফাইন।
আচ্ছা, তোর কিন্তু একো আসতেছে আবার তাওসিফ। ঠিক আছে, ওইটা ঠিক করিস, তোর একো সবার একো আসতেছে। Okay, so she goes, well, but that is not a problem anymore. Just like I showed you, the god's gaze cannot pierce anymore. I have control of the surrounding at least. And over time, that will increase. And this time, not only you, I can give the answers to your friend as well if you want them to hear it.
Give him, give him, give him, give him.
Yes, I am the apostle of the one that ends all the names.
Fuck you.
And Arvan, you do not need to make you not
সাইড দিয়ে
you do not need to make the check, Arvan. You know the title, whom the title belongs to.
The fuck you was on my mouth, okay? That wasn't on the group chat.
Okay. And but there are reasons to everything.
Fuck your
And
mama.
he waits for a moment and checks the reaction after she declares that. And she goes, well, then, rather than wasting time, am I to explain myself now?
Explain quickly, please.
And so, in the meantime, Ego was paralyzed for a moment, was about to fall, but you guys.
প্যারালাইজড লিটার্জি না।
Uh, but he holds himself right away and again joins the conversation.
ও
Yep,
মাই গড,
he's okay.
the slime has a
So,
cold. Fuck.
Yes, I have a cold.
so you all see around you a
DM, one thing, that name, you said it right? Does it ring a bell?
Hey.
Erin. Uh,
না না না, the end ওই যে world title
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
and
What-
Tandoori.
you can
Oh,
make
yeah,
for you
Tandoori
can make a
বলছেন।
religion check. না 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 ও প্যান্ডারিম বলে নাই, বলছে হচ্ছে the one who
অ্যাশওয়ার্ড
ends all
বলছে।
names.
অ্যাশফোর্ড
আচ্ছা
বলছে।
অ্যাস্ট্রোড বলছে, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ। তো
এটাই কথা।
do you want to know about that? You can make a history
Yes,
joke.
yes,
Sorry, not religion
yes.
joke.
Same.
Are you religious,
Same.
brother?
Yes, both this.
You are a
Yes,
paladin without any religion, brother.
Come on. 17.
17, that's good.
That's
So
meh.
you have heard of the name or the title, and you feel like you have related the name with other titles as well. They have been warned by different churches, and different churches always or very often recalls to this entity as a means of making people remember what could be the fate. And few of the titles that came to your mind is the utter annihilator,
Annihilator.
and you also have the idea that rather
Denialord.
than death, which have a lot of god that have domains or their portfolio around it, pandering is not really death but rather the end of everything.
The eater of world.
And
So, Pandora is like a singular being, or like, or
rather than
or
a being, you get the idea it is a concept itself.
It is an entity, you can call it.
so
Yeah.
kind of like Kiamat, right?
That's totally different.
Yeah.
How different can you be?
and for certain this
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Just think it as a great old one. Yeah, that would be better.
yes, it is a elder evil which it is known by in many of the churches. So you have that idea, but you also get the idea this is one of those beings that is very hard to completely erase because they are the fundamental blocks of the universe
Existence.
itself, existence itself. Okay, but rather than completely erasing them, usually they are contained, so
Or
they do
kept
not,
away from.
yeah, so they do not get to do whatever they want. And something perhaps was done to this elder evil as well. So that is why perhaps you guys all are existing and not like it is a blank slate in the universe. Anyway, you get the idea, ego, and right after the conversation, or you think for a second, you see she starts to explain, and you see like around her, she weaves her hand a little bit, and you see like just like Ethenia, you see illusion starts to appear all around you, everyone, and they start to become more আচ্ছা noise আসতেছে, and they start to become more and more realistic, these illusions, and
Yes.
until a moment you can't even tell apart if those were illusions or if those were real. Ashford, you can still distinguish with your true sight, but to others it seemed as real as it can get. And you all find yourself in a different scenario as the illusions cover your whole surrounding.
I have 10 feet of blind sight. Does it help?
Nah.
Nope. You still see the shapes. You are aware, ego, that it's not only the illusion, the visual change, but it seemed to have a mass as well. And eventually, you find yourself in a different place as the illusion starts to cover your whole surrounding. And aside from Ashford, the rest of you are completely unaware of the previous surrounding as you find yourself in a new one. You see open fields of flowers.
Are we
You
teleported dashboard? Okay. Okay.
you all look above and you not only see the flower field, you also see the smells from the flowers enter your nostril, and you can feel the fragrant smell that is coming from all around you. You look above and you see rivers in the sky with water so pure that in the sunlight it almost feels like it is glittering like this molten mercury.
River in the sky.
Yes,
For the
it almost feels like the gravity seems to be not working on the rivers particularly.
okay.
And you can also see like the bottom of the rivers and the fishes that are swimming inside the river itself from underneath the river, not even on top of the river, on the side of the river. And as the reflection from the above river falls on the ground, it creates this beautiful pattern on top of the flower field itself. You look at the distance, you all look at the distance and see rows of huge, vibrant trees. And এই নদীর noise আসতেছে.
Okay.
And from behind the tree lines, you see huge architectural spires that seems nothing like modern man-made creations. Spires tall enough that some could reach the clouds. You also see that the river seems to be bending around these tall spires. And a sight to be keep a look at if you guys had the time. But then, before you could say anything, the scenery changes again. And as it starts to change, you see Erin's eyes almost glitter for a moment, and she goes, well, this is where I was born, a place called Tintageer. Although the name itself is a mockery from the gods, as it means to be forgotten. But we knew it as Ezaltria, the land of
What
the
do I
first
know,
elves.
DM?
You were aware of the name Tintageer, and it was believed that the Sun Elves and also the Moon Elves were first
Oh, lol.
originating from this place. But that is also thousands and thousands of years ago. So you were quite aware that if she was really born from here, then she is few thousand years old.
Seen
And
older.
and she goes, we knew it as Ezaltria, the land of the first elves, the land painted by the elven god Corellion himself. And as the illusion swiftly changes and you find yourself inside a city, and from the color it looks like the city you saw all the way from the distance right just a few moments ago. And it's not just the city, the elves and kids around you, from their joy and expression alone, you make it seems like it making the dense city itself look vibrant. You see magics being used in everywhere, the lights, the machines, and even the robes and clothes of the common elves that were walking down the streets around you. But again, the illusion starts to shift, and she starts to talk again, and she goes, well, this was Tintageer at its most finest, but most like the flowers we just saw, it did not last too long as well. The beauty soon became too bright for the gaze of a tyrant, a tyrant deity to be exact. He flooded the flower fields. The lands were driven under the sea,
The gaze of a titan.
and the people were enslaved under this deity's rule. And as she says that, you see your surroundings starts to slowly change, and you see from a smiling face the kids stopped laughing and the elves stopped singing, and with their emotion changing, you see the land started to weep as well. It soon became gray in color, and the deities, you see a figure seems to almost veil the whole city itself, almost like a metaphor. But then the veil again changes the scenery. You all find yourself this time in a lavish room. You look through the window, it seemed like quite high from the ground. You can see the distant city. Perhaps it is surrounded by the city. And inside the room, you see a silhouette of a you see a silhouette or a shadow of a figure sitting on a chair. The silhouette is making it impossible for to distinguish the details, but it seemed like an elf. You see, the elf has his face resting on his hand as if drowned in this heavy worry. And
And
on top of the head sits a crown. You see a womanly figure made of light suddenly starts to hover down from the ceiling and rests beside the king itself. And you see it places a hand in the sh- এটা কি বলে গালের ইংলিশ কি cheek
cheek,
cheek cheek, yes, around the cheek of
no
the
dick,
king.
the dick of the king.
But finally
What are we watching?
you
And then she undresses, starts sitting up,
and
Haram, bro.
as that
flushes.
happens, you see the female figure Erin starts to again talk and goes, Well, finally, the whisper of salvation did arrive. As you see the figure of light her, near the king's face, got closer, and you see the face get near the king's ear, and Erin again goes. The king heard the whisper first among all the elves. The being you see here promised that it would aid the people, but in return it wanted the vibrant memories of the people. It would,
Oh,
it would free the people from the tyrant, but it required the memories. It wanted to be vibrant as like the elves. It asked for not entire life worth, but rather a year worth of memories. But it, but it was not from only the king. It
all
was
the elves.
from all the people of the land the king ruled. The king would be the voice for the people. You see the illusion starts to shift, and you see the king kneel down before this floating figure of light and gently picks her hand and takes it near his forehead. You see droplets of water starts to drip from the eyes of this said king, almost as if a salvation that he was long waiting for had come finally. The gods
In
have
thought.
answered the prayers. The scene then transitions again to the city. And this time we see millions of floating figures of light descend from the what seemed like the heavens and rest beside all the elves that were inside the city as well as that were outside the city. And a similar gesture was seen all around, as if those floating lights were cursing the elves that were around, the sun elves and the moon elves both. And for the people who don't know how the sun elves and moon elves look, you can make a quick Google search, but to give a short description, the sun elves
One is blue,
almost
one is yellow, I guess.
yes,
I'm assuming.
rather would have preferred the word golden. You see, like most of the sun elves have this yellowish hair with this golden tinge to it, and their armors also implementing the color. And you see, they wear these long robes, and some of them have the clothes of warriors, but different from person to person. And among them were mixed moon elves as well, although not as much in number, but you see them as well. These elves have a different color in a general theme. They have this silver flowing hair, and gender aside, all of them seem to have these long hairs, and the skin seems to be paler than the sun elves that were present in the streets. And you see, regardless of the type of elves and regardless of gender and age. These figures of light starts to hover down to each one of them, and each of these figures of lights place their hand on top of these elves. And for a moment, you feel like that as the figures touch the elves, the color starts to brighten up, as if the tone of the elves themselves seems to be changing with their mood. But over the time, it seemed like it was just a momentary flicker, and you see the transition of the illusion again take place. And this time, you almost do not recognize the surrounding around you, and you see the people that were just a moment ago waiting for salvation start to walk down the streets rampantly, almost not knowing what to do. They start to act like their mind was being clawed inside. Some of them feels like they went mad. And Erin then starts to speak again. And she goes, if only it was actually a salvation from the gods that came. It was neither the gods, it was neither the deities. It was another evil being replacing a older one. But this one seemed to have been a further evil entity that the elves were not able to interpret. And you see that the scene again transitions, and as it transitioned again, it seemed even more gruesome than the last time. You see people clawing each other in the streets. You cannot distinguish anymore which ones were the sun elves or which ones were the moon elves. You see all of them were drenched in this thick blood all around them, as if this were continuing for quite a long time. You look around, you কে চলে গেছে জানি
ওই খাটাওয়ালা চলে গেছে।
খাট ভেঙে পড়ছে।
Yeah, that would be awesome. I want to see that. বলবে নাকি জ্বরে খাট উঠে
প্রাঞ্জল একটা মেনশন দিয়ে দেখি, নাহলে আবার এক্সপ্লেন করা লাগবে না।
ও ভিডিও আছে?
হ্যাঁ, ভিডিও তো আছে।
ভিডিও লিংক দিও। তুই কি এই ভিডিও গুলো হচ্ছে তোর আবার মানে আলাদাভাবে তোর ইসে ঢুকাইস ইউটিউব চ্যানেলে?
না না, অটোমেটিক তো চলতেছে, ঢুকতেছে।
জানি
Huh? Repeat. No one knows. Perhaps maybe the gods, but they do not reply to the people.
Uh, from the visual and stuff.
Hmm?
Can I?
Uh, you feel like that this entity that lived for thousands of years of uh, কি বলে, years did not recognize, but maybe you can, so you can roll history check.
না পারলে বল, কারণ আমার আছে 0 এইচডি, ঠিক আছে?
আচ্ছা
না
আচ্ছা,
পারলে
so
বলে দে।
in that case it is indeed impossible.
Yeah, then fuck. But I will still roll. Natural one যদি চলে যায়।
DM
That's not
জায়গাটার নাম
possible.
কি বলছিলেন?
Yo, yes, yes, I am so happy.
জায়গাটা currently known as Tintageer.
Tintageer. Sounds like Ticanus.
Oh, and did the sitting posture of the king remind me of that dream I had?
Nah, the figure seems to be completely different. That is a shield.
Okay.
Okay.
And
কি প্রাঞ্জলে খাট চুরি করে নিয়ে গেছে?
Ashford, what did you ask, by the way?
তো
হ্যাঁ 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 হ্যাঁ, ওরা তো উত্তর দিচ্ছে
টাইরেন্টটা
না।
কি বা এটা কি?
হ্যাঁ,
The new evil. Oh, okay.
hmm. And as that continue, let me 1 second bring out some names. Forgot.
Yeah, DM brings out the book of names. এটা কি জানো, ওই যে পোর্টফোলিও? Yes, the DM brings out portfolio for all the NPCs. আচ্ছা দীপ, কথা শোনা আসলে মানে একটু কষ্ট হয়ে যায় তোমার, বুঝছি না কেন। মানে তুমি বলতেছো কিছু একটা, এটা বোঝা যাচ্ছে কিন্তু স্পষ্ট না শব্দগুলো আর কি। এখন ঠিক আছে, এখন একটু তাও একটু কষ্ট হয়, কিন্তু এখন একটু বোঝা গেল। কিন্তু যখন ধরে নাও একটু মনে হয় ধীরে কথা বলো বা ইয়েতে, তখন শোনা যায় না।
And she goes, they, the people all around the nation, started to inflict harm on each other. They started clawing each other, tearing each other apart. And the agony continued for quite a while. They could not even die. But the death did come, perhaps not in a year, maybe in few years. But the agony did stop. But that was at the point when their souls could not bear any more of the pain. The threshold of their emotion had reached the limit, at the point when they were finally doused out of their misery. And that started to happen one by one, depending on how a person's soul could linger onto those good emotions and feel or have their will strong enough to endure the pain. But it only meant that the more you suffer, the more you try to endure until your soul eventually comes to the blink of breaking apart. And that is when their souls, perhaps, or perhaps the emotions that contained within the souls that were devoured by this elder evil. And as that continued, finally, the gods, when the people did not need any salvation, when people have long lost their hope, they started to act. The gods finally tried to destroy what was touched by the evil. But they could not erase the civilization. They tried it, but reality seemed to deny their trying. The civilizations, the people, the elves, they came back each time the gods tried to destroy them. And as the suffering continued, the gods grew wary of it. Something was feeding upon the sorrows and the pains that reached the limit of the soul. And if this continued, if a whole nation of elves that were revered as a culture that picked its uh, strength and also ingenuity, if they were to fall altogether, the whole nation, then that probably would have triggered something even the gods did not want. So they drastically looked for solutions. Eventually, the gods pleaded to the Lord of Time, and the Lord did come up with a solution. Entrap the whole civilization in an endless loop, keeping the Elder Evil outside of it. Rather than a physical prison, it was a prison made of time, where the Elder Evil himself could not claw his nails into. And নাদিদ আসছে আবার চলে গেছে। নাদিদ,
হ্যালো।
হ্যাঁ, কতদূর শুনছিলি?
সিটির পর্যন্ত। এরপরে কি হয়েছে একটু শর্টে বলেন।
হ্যাঁ, ওইটাই। সিটি তো অনেকক্ষণ ধরে সিটি চলতেছে। সিটি কোন পর্যন্ত? ওই যে
তো
কিং এর পার্টটা শুনছিস নাকি?
কিং এর পার্টটা শুনছি, কিং এর পার্টের সাথে ডিল হওয়ার পরের পার্ট থেকে আর শুনি নাই।
হ্যাঁ, সো কিং এর পার্টের সাথে যখন ডিল হয়েছে তখন একটা দেখছে যে ফিগার অফ লাইট এসে ওকে হচ্ছে এরকম কপালে
হ্যাঁ,
হাত
ওর পরে
হ্যাঁ, এবং এই সিমিলার যে সিনটা এইটা হচ্ছে থ্রু আউট দ্য নেশন মানে হওয়া শুরু করে সব এলসদের সাথে। ঠিক আছে? দ্য কিং ওয়াজ এ কন্ডুইট, ঠিক আছে, ভয়েস ফর অল দ্য এলভস। ঠিক আছে? So afterwards, like millions of figures of lights came down and did a similar act, as if lending a year worth of good memories. But এরপরে for a few moments it felt like মানে they were like improving, or did not happen much, nothing happened. But eventually the promise was made. The tyrant deity was slain by this other entity, but soon after মানে পিপলরা হচ্ছে started to claw each other like as if they were going mad. ঠিক আছে? And eventually it was hard. it was hard to tell if those were even elves because they were drowned in this blood.
Very
And
expensive.
soon after, it was not unobvious that it's probably another evil that took place of the tyrant. And
Oh.
the mysterious part was it. The notice went to the gods, এবং they did see that the people were going mad and they were touched by some sort of entity, and evil one at that. So the gods tried to erase the whole nation altogether, along with whatever touched it, perhaps. But every time they tried to erase, that did not work. Those people almost denied the reality itself and again came back to their pain and torture they were living through. So we talked this part, and as she explains, and she goes, eventually the gods turned to the Lord of Time and asked for a solution. And this time, the Lord of Time did come up with one and trap the infestation not inside a physical seal or try to erase it because that did not work. Bound it inside a loop of time. So, whatever it is that was affecting the people, it may continue for endless time but never grow or never come to a fruition because they believed if all the people had went mad eventually. And one more detail was that depending on people's willpower, some people were going mad early, some people were taking years for that. But eventually, at the peak of their pain and torture, যখন তাদের soul could not bear it anymore, at that time, those people fell down. As if at that peak moment in their soul, they were devoured by something. So the gods feared that something was gaining strength through this act. And it was becoming more and more stronger. And they could not even erase it. So they chose to seal it in a seal of time rather than space, because that also did not work. And as such, the action was taken. A seal of time was placed, and the whole nation was entrapped within it, along with whatever the entity was clawing inside the nation.
Okay.
Few of the elves, by some means, were able to escape. Some later came to the material realm. But that was the end of a civilization. But the ones that survived knew the toll that had to be paid. It was not something that has been paid already. The suffering did not end. The people that were in the nation, they all are in an endless loop of suffering. They were not only betrayed by their gods, they were betrayed by the only hope they was looking after for years, being under this torture of this evil. That is why I do not think my suffering or the betrayal I went through is much to be taken concerned of, because my people are suffering much worse. They're still in that loop. I perhaps have escaped it, but they were not lucky enough. But I did have to pay my price as well. I had to make a contract with what you currently know as the being that ends everything. He did help me get out of the nation. It also had enough power to get the claws of the other elder evil away from some of my people.
Is
But
that
still,
is that entity you are referring to named Vilmorax?
no,
No. That's the
it's
fucking
not.
penguin.
No, everyone. No,
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 uh,
no,
no. Okay, we know
no,
the.
No.
no. Come, yeah.
Yeah.
So
This
she
bitch
already.
serves a different.
So Silas, she serves Pandorim from what Ashford said, and Pandorim goes by the title the Ultimate Annihilator নাকি কি জানি. 1 second, let me check.
আর ভেলমোরাক্স হচ্ছে আর
Yeah.
ভেলমোরাক্স
হ্যাঁ, the Great Annihilator.
রিসেন্টলি হয়েছে আর কি, ঠিক আছে
হ্যাঁ.
like,
Okay, তাহলে
আর এটা
And
হচ্ছে
also
থাউজেন্ড অফ
he
ইয়ার্স
goes by the
ago,
next.
ঠিক আছে।
And
রিসেন্টলি বলতে অত
Velmoros
রিসেন্টলি মানে
recently হয়েছে
মানে
তাই বলতেছে।
ভেলমোরাক্স, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
Velvet
হ্যাঁ
recently.
ভেলমোরাস তো রিসেন্টলি হয়েছে।
আর এটা তো থাউজেন্ডস অফ ইয়ার্স আগের কাহিনী
Thousands না, this thing was
মিলে।
created even maybe before gods.
But I did not take the promise or made the pact with this being just because the Lord would help me escape Tintageer. That was not it. I would have taken the fate as my people. But I was able to make a contract. Me being free of the claw of this other evil was a bonus, you could say. The main prize I was promised is the freedom of my people. They will be eventually brought out of this loop of suffering. But of course, I do not expect a happy ending from a elder evil. He promised that the times will return to the point when my people was enslaved. The time will again continue, but this time there would be no suffering. It will be a completely new stream of time where the sun elves and moon elves did not come to an endless loop of suffering. They will live just like any other continuity of civilization. They will thrive till the time comes when eventually the endless will catch up. And she goes, the world is not what you think. It's not going to continue like this till the end of time, perhaps. You see, this loop did not take place once. There was an event that was to come in few years from now. You feel like she's talking as if she's describing near future. And she goes, you see, the first time the time continued, the veils of the sky were glowing with light, but not the kind of light that you expect to be all shiny and bright. They were bright indeed, but in the far distance, it meant chaos. There was something brewing outside our realm, something people of the land were unaware of, something that was outside the realm of fairies and also your world. As that happened in few years, the world was flooded in chaos. I do not have memory of the time, but the chaos almost plagued this world as well. And the fate that the people endured was much like the same as my people endured, but perhaps even worse than what my people endured. And it got the attention of some entity. And the first one that was to contact with me was the Herald. And right after the Herald, the one that met with me in that time was the Epoch. And the meeting with these two figures was not a coincidence. As this moment, you feel like that you have went way past the 10-minute marks, and but she still seems to be immersed in this passage of story that has been long stored in her mind. And again, the illusion shifts, and you find yourself in this small chamber, and you recall the place, Ashford. It is the fortress. You have been with Erin for a long time. The fortress of Method. But it looks slightly different from how you remembered it. Perhaps it's the interior. Perhaps it's just the room that was changed. And she goes, here I met with two people, and you see a silhouette of a horned figure, has two horns that almost bends backward, and another figure which seems like has pointy ears but looks human as well. And she goes, one of them is the epoch I mentioned of, and the other is the herald. And both of them is aware of the situation that took place in Tintageer, and as well as I was aware of their existence. The Lord of Pandering, the Lord of Endless, the Lord of End, also made me aware of these two beings. The Lord told me that I was to aid in the plan of these two beings. That was also the part of my bargain that I was to fulfill. They had a plan. They knew about the disaster that was going to take place, that was going to entrap the whole civilization in a, or the, not civilization would be understating, the whole dimension, the Shadow Realm, the Avir, the Toril, the Feywilds. Everything would be engulfed in this endless suffering. That was a future that was quite near upon us. And they were planning to do something. I believe they were waiting for a certain salvation to take place. But it did not take place the first time their plan unfolded. At the brink of where the chaos, the endless suffering would enter this realm, they triggered a similar mechanism, I would say. But unlike from the direct intervention of the Lord of Time, the God, it was not known to the people nor the clerics, but it was nonetheless a similar situation. The time was halted for a brief moment and it then began to rotate back until it came to a certain point in the past. 30 years from now, 30 years in the past, it went back to that point. I was able to remember everything because of the Lord I serve. He was beyond the concept of creation, and hence it had memories of every iteration that took place. Yes, and this is not the first time I have met you or been with you. Don't you think it was strange that the first time we met, it did not seem like you were a stranger to me? Do you remember that? And she rhetorically asked that question, but you get the idea. She already knew the answer. And she goes, the plan was to continue the loop until they find a solution, the epoch and the herald. They continued the loop for the first time, but there was a problem. Although the loop was made, a lot of the gods were, although affected, but their memories were not. The gods also returned to the point in the past, but just like my lord, they could also remember. The loop had been successful, but it may seem to you like that might have not caused a problem if the gods knew about it, but it did. Not only the gods, it was the demon lords and also the archdevils that had a different form of divinity among them. The powerful ones recalled the memories, unlike the mortals. They remembered what happened in the first iteration. And some of them did not take it as happily as the rest. Some tried to use the memory of the events that took place in the other iteration. And this time it did not even take the chaos of the far realms to reach ours. It did not take the chaos of the astral to touch our realms. The gods and demon lords, with the knowledge of the first iteration, they used the knowledge to gain leverage, but ultimately that not only destroyed their own people, but the people of the realms as well. And this time, before the chaos came, the lives of the people were already in an endless suffering because of the irrational acts of not only the demons and the devils, from the gods as well. It was a chaos that was undescribable. Perhaps that is why it is best that we are not aware of the future. That is why perhaps divination to humans are quite limited, even from the gods that have their domain over fate. No, that is not the case of this current chaos you are seeing. That was the first iteration. This is not the first iteration. Or to be exact, the second iteration. The first iteration was the place where the plan finally took place. The second iteration was where the gods, the demon lords, and the archdevils knew of the memories and fought themselves. That was the second iteration. No, it is not the third. It is the 11th time. And she goes, after the failed second iteration, the gods were enraged with the epoch as well as the herald. But they this time was approached by the Lord of Times again. And this time the Lord of Time also approved of this because he perhaps also knew the eventual outcome that was to take place. And until a solution was to be found, the loop was to be continued. And that was the plan. And they needed a medium to make the gods forget. Make the memories of even the gods and the devils, as well as the demon lords, to be erased. And that is when the epoch and the herald started to lend the power from the Lord. And by Lord, I mean Lord Pandaren. You know, my Lord has a domain over eraser. And with the help of few of the gods, a certain fraction of the Lord's power was used along with the mechanism that the Herald and the Epoch build. And with that, this time not only the time was reset back to 30 years back, but the memories of the even the gods were erased along with it. And hence, the third iteration ended without any problem, unlike the second one. There was no gods fighting among each other, there was no demon lords and devils getting impatient, knowing the future. The time continued as normal. But eventually, the solution did not came in the third iteration as well. Then came the fourth one, the fifth one, and eventually continued till the 11th one. And that is where I am currently, and you all are currently. Yes, that is true. But the issue is not that we haven't found the solution, but rather we are well past the point of a time reversal. I would say. This event, this us meeting here, this should not be taking place. The time should have been already reverted. For some reason, the Epoch and the Herald did not take action this time. And if this continues, if the time continues like the first iteration, we will come to this brink of point where the ever looming chaos, the eternal chaos, the eternal suffering will finally reach the realms. And that is where I am currently at. I'm trying to find the epochs and also the herald. They are entities well beyond even some of the strongest you have met, perhaps. You have met, I presume, Velmorax. Even entities like him are nothing compared to not perhaps the herald. The herald is, you could say, the brain of this, and epoch is the one that is powering the project, if you would say it. And if the epoch wishes to be not noticed, then none of us, even if we tried for thousands of time, could find him. And if that is the case, then we are slowly heading toward the point where a similar case of suffering would be imposed upon the whole people of the entire realms. She goes, I was not looking for all of the shards. I do not need to even make the Lord come to his full potential, although that is blasphemous of me saying as the apostle of the Lord. But that is not a contract I have made. I have not made a contract to revive the Lord. My action is of my own. I do not wish for the people to meet the same fate as did my own. So I will be continuing the loop as it always happened for the 11th time. Yes, I'm coming to that. The Epoch and also the Herald knows about the location of the shards. Each one of them. And each time the loop took place, they borrowed the power from the shards to erase the memories of the gods and demon lords and as well as the devils. I have came to hypothesize. Oh, but dude, I'm pronouncing that so bad. I have an idea where the mechanic, the build is, and with the Lord's help, I probably can get to it as well. But reverting the memories of the gods so the chaos of the second iteration does not take place would require a small fragment of the Lord's power, along with restarting the process of the time loop. That is why I needed at least 3 of the shards. Yes, that was the plan. And there was another problem though. Like I said, unlike the second time, in the third, and unlike the second time, the other iterations from the third to this time, the gods are still unaware of this loop as well as the actions of the Herald and Epoch. But if I were to even name of the mechanics or the process that was used to make the loop, that would take the alarm of certain gods who are also aware of such process. If even my thoughts were to leak, then those gods would take action. And if that happens, then even the Lord of Time this time will probably not be able to take actions. That is why we needed to escape the God's gaze. Although a loop of time is not something favorable by the gods, it is something that is necessity in a case where we are currently. And someone has to take the drastic actions. Well, we are already past the point of the iteration, and I do not have much knowledge from this point onward because this is a point in time that has not been reached in previous time loops as well. Yes, around 2 to 3 years. Everyone. Perhaps
আচ্ছা
everyone is a stretch given the gods perhaps have means of escaping the fate that we mortals will have to bear. But I don't think that's a concern of us, those who think for the people, not for the gods. I have well past being concerned about the gods.
আচ্ছা DM, um,
Hmm.
did she mention anything about the contract, like what what does the annihilator gain from the contract? এটা কি সে কিছু বলছে?
Mm, mm,
Oh, okay.
yes.
No, I'll ask.
Mm,
You made a contract with your lord, right?
yes, I did.
What does your lord gain from the contract?
The contract is that upon the freedom of my people, upon I have freed the people with the help of Pandering, he would revert the time one more time, and this time not back to 30 years. It will revert back to 11,000 years when my people were still alive. And this time, in that specific timeline, he would free my people from the great evil that has clawed them. But the prize is he would be taking away the souls after they have lived through. Or perhaps souls would be a misplaced word, rather, their existence itself. After they have lived through their lives, they will get to live and die as old. And then, just like everything, rather than returning the soul to the perhaps a god whom they believe, it will be ended into nothingness, where the domain of Pandarim holds.
You made a contract with him, but the king, didn't he also make a contract with the evil being as well?
That was the being that initially
Yes,
affected the people. It's
yes.
not.
But did he? Did was there a contract that time, or it just a offer the king accepted?
I think that was also a contract. I mean, the
Then
price for the
it,
salvation perhaps was a year worth of memory, but I am not sure of the details how the great elder evil was able to claw into the people's mind in such a scale and turn them the way they were.
so that's not a violation of the contract.
Mm.
হ্যাঁ, না, আমি আমি আলাদা আলাদাই বলতেছি, আমি আলাদা আলাদাই বলছি। সো এইটা একটা কন্ট্রাক্ট, কিন্তু কন্ট্রাক্ট ব্রোক করলে কি হয়? অ্যাজমোডিয়াসের কাছে যাওয়া লাগে, এটা কি সেটা টাইপের নাকি?
Yes.
ইয়েস। তাহলে কিং যে কিং যে কন্ট্রাক্ট করছিল, তো সেটা
Mm.
তো কিছুটা আমার মনে হচ্ছে
Mm.
হ্যাঁ,
Mm. Mm.
হ্যাঁ,
Exactly.
দেন দ্য কন্ট্রাক্ট হ্যাজ বিন ফুলফিলড। ওকে।
And although it's not completely a sweet ending for if Pandarim saves the people because they will get to live till they die, but after they die, they will turn to nothingness. There will be no soul, no nothing. But the endless loop of pain যেটা ওরা আছে, that will end. Yes, after they get to live and grow old, I will perhaps join them as well. But At least I want the loop to end, the endless loop of suffering they are still in currently as we speak.
Uh, they'll
They might. But that is not the luxury they have. They are in an endless loop of suffering already. They don't get to witness that. Perhaps it is. Yeah, you may think that with your short life, but if you live for thousands and thousands of years, and you know how those thousands of years is perhaps a pain for you, but for those people that are living through an endless suffering, that is far worse. It- That is, Hmm. It is salvation because not every people, and she interrupts and goes, not every people who does not believe in a afterlife have to go down the life path of a life full of misery. They can still enjoy the life. That is not true. I have seen even among the people that live in this era, there are a lot of people that at this point do not believe in gods. They do not believe they will be rewarded in the afterlife, but they still cherish the moment they are living. Maybe that should be the case for these people as well, the ones that get freed. They just need to stay oblivious and live their life until the demise eventually comes. But that perhaps is much better than an endless suffering. As for me, hmm, hmm, finish first. It's kind of like a barrier, or rather a veil that is like absorbing the or dimming the light around you. But you're currently inside a room, so it's even darker. So basically, you are currently at the fort now. You also can't see it because 1 hour already passed. ঠিক আছে? 10 মিনিটের পরে ঘন্টাখানেক হয়ে গেছে। কনভারসেশন লেন্থ, হ্যাঁ, কনভারসেশন 3 ঘন্টা হয়েছে হচ্ছে রিয়েল লাইফে, সো 1 ঘন্টা এভেন্চুয়ালি হয়েছে ওইখানে কনভারসেশন।
Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! Is the city is the city still floating? What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, I will ask a question.
হুম,
You said until
হুম। No, he is one of the only gods who remembers every single iteration, as he is the one who is devouring or erasing the memories. Yes, he is also hearing this. Oh, you are supposed to make a persuasion check.
okay. I'll ask a question. You
Hmm?
said until they get old and die, right?
Yes, we elves do
Wh-
have a relatively longer life than most of you.
What about during this life you have children? What about
The
them?
children's will probably not be included because they were not under the king's rule. They will not be clawed by the same evil.
Are you sure?
Yes, that is what I heard the pact was working. And from the way I saw it, the people that got affected, it did resemble that.
Um,
Hmm? 22. Okay. She goes, my, she, you see, was about to say something, then she pauses for a second and it almost feels like thinks and goes, I will take my decision as I deem fit, as well as. Hmm? Hmm? You get a reply. You get a reply from in the telepathy and goes, no, he does not hear of this conversation. She goes, I have allied with Penderim for a long time. I will probably have to follow through my fate. But you, now that you know of my people's fate, may even slay me in your path. If that means you can come to a better conclusion than the one I have. But I highly doubt that.
I stayed silent during all of this,
damn.
but
How,
as
বলতেছে তো ও তো শুরু করছে আগে বলতে দে
okay.
but as she is keep repeating that fact of her people, I look at her and I go, no, last, not the last one. I understood that was in your head. I continue on
Hmm.
what she last said, and that was the people's fate as well. I go, you talk about nations, people's fate, and you believe that they will have salvation by living their life. What fault did my own planet do when they just wanted to live as well, where your patron was the eraser?
She goes,
Why should I be not the one that stands the way in your salvation and
it
ruin it?
seems it
Maybe
seems
in
you.
every iteration.
Hmm. And she goes, it seems you have a wrong idea about how the Lord work or how the miracles of the Lord works. You seem
You call them
to
miracles?
she does use that word and she goes, you seem to follow the wordings that the churches teaches, that a being that erases must be the most evil being that is living out there. But that is not the case. My Lord is a concept and part of his power, even in this sealed state, has been used by many people. Many people have drawn fragments of the Lord's power to fulfill their own desires. Ultimately, it did empower the Lord, of course, but the action itself was done by the people that lended the power.
I understand your facts and I understand your believings, but what is justified to you in that scenario?
Hmm? I didn't mention about. Do you say that telepathically? Okay. Hmm. Mhm. Okay, okay, I get it. Mm-hmm. And she goes, part of the contract is that I cannot directly oppose the Lord, but you are free to do whatever you wish to. And I'm also not obligated to follow through the Lord's every decision. But the fact about saving my people, it is something that I am contracted to. I will do my work to come to that conclusion. But it is also within the limits of my own capability. If I am bound or if I am nowhere close to finding the solution, then I am to roam until the contract has been fulfilled. That could be for eternity, if we do have one, that is. Mhm. Mhm. She goes, I am not well aware of all the actions that is done in the name of my Lord, and also derives taking the help of the Lord. If that is something that happened, perhaps that had some reasons behind it, or perhaps that was a selfish act of an individual that required to lend the power of the Lord. Mhm. Mm. And she does not reply to your answer exactly, but she says a different thing. It almost feels like off topic. And she goes, I have made a contract with my lord that I would not be opposed to his portfolio or his actions that has been taken by both good and as well as the bad people to achieve their agendas. You may interpret that as you fit. So, what is your passive insight? 18. That is quite high. So you get the idea that anything that puts Pandarim in a bad light or like focuses him as the evil, she will not be able to comply to that or something along the line.
Okay. Can I say something? Okay. Uh,
Mhm.
so so time loop, right? He said descent something like descent and time loop ki same জিনিসটা কি?
ডিসেন্ট কোনখানে কন্টেক্সট বলতে হবে নাহলে আমি বুঝতে পারছি না।
11th কি বললি ওটা 11th
হ্যাঁ
11th
হ্যাঁ
time loop,
লুপি।
right?
হুম হুম
So time loop ending time আর হচ্ছে start time,
হুম।
এটা কোনটা? এটা কি কোনো আন্দাজ আছে না ভাই? মানে
30 years।
30 বছর, 30 years.
হুম।
Okay. So this is until like after the third or fourth time loop, right?
না 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 না, লুপ গুলো কেমন? হুম।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হুম,
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা। আমি 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 ওটা 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 যে চাচ্ছিলাম না, জেনে ভালো হলো, কিন্তু আমি হচ্ছে যে প্রথম যে দুই তিনটা লুপ ছিল
হুম
সেগুলোতে হচ্ছে গড ডেভিল এদেরও তো মেমোরি হচ্ছে
ছিল।
ডিলিট
ইয়াস।
হয়নি।
হ্যাঁ।
ইয়েস, চতুর্থ হচ্ছে থেকে মনে হয়
না না, থার্ডের
মেমোরিটাও
থেকে।
থার্ড থেকে, না থার্ড থেকে।
হুম।
ওকে ওকে ওকে।
অ্যান্ড যেটা বলছে যে থার্ডের থেকে হচ্ছে দে স্টার্টেড টেকিং দ্য এইড অফ কি বলে ওই প্যান্ডারিম, ঠিক আছে? বিকজ প্যান্ডারিম হ্যাজ দ্য ডোমেইন ওভার ইরেজার, সো ওর ডোমেইন রে ইউজ করে ওই ইপক আর হেরাল্ড এই যে দুইটা ফিগার আছে, এরা দুইটা সাম সর্ট অফ টুইক করছে অ্যাকচুয়াল মেকানিজমটা, যাতে হচ্ছে নট অনলি টাইম ইজ রিভার্টিং বাট অ্যালং উইথ দ্যাট ওই 30 বছরের মেমোরি হচ্ছে গডস এবং ডিমন লর্ডস ডেইটি সবার কাছ থেকে হচ্ছে ইরেজ হয়ে যাচ্ছে, আর মর্টাল তো এমনিই যাচ্ছে, ঠিক
এত
আছে?
পাওয়ারফুল হলে, এত পাওয়ারফুল হলে লাইক ক্যান হি গো ব্যাক ইন টাইম এন্ড লাইক স্টপ দ্য প্যাক দ্যাট did the main salvation thing,
আই
made
মিন
everyone?
ওইটাও একটা সলিউশন দিছে যে মানে এনাফ টাইম, মানে যখন হচ্ছে ওই এরিনস মানে স্যালভেশনটা পাওয়ার চেষ্টা করবে, দেন ও হচ্ছে ওয়ান মোর টাইম হচ্ছে রিভার্ট করবে, বাট দিস টাইম ওই মেকানিজমের থ্রুতে ইপকরা রিভার্ট করবে না, প্যান্ডারিম নিজে হচ্ছে রিভার্ট করবে টাইম লাইন, রিভার্ট করে ওই সময়ে যাবে যে সময় হচ্ছে ওই এরিনের সিভিলাইজেশনের উপরে হচ্ছে ওই এল্ডার এভিলটা হচ্ছে এফেক্ট করছিল, গিয়ে দেন হচ্ছে অ্যাট দ্যাট পয়েন্ট ইনস্টেড অফ ইটার্নাল সাফারিং ওরা হচ্ছে একটা ফাইনাল সালভেশন দিবে হচ্ছে ওই পিপল গুলোকে, যদিও
এটা
ফাইনাল
এটা প্যান্ডোরিং কখন করতে পারবে?
এইটা এখনো বলে নাই তোকে। যখন
মানে,
হ্যাঁ
আর এই যে টাইম লুপ করছে, লাইক হোয়াট কাইন্ড অফ সলিউশন আর উই অ্যাকচুয়ালি লুকিং ফর?
nobody knows. এটা হচ্ছে the only one that have some idea perhaps is the epoch and also the herald. Yes, sir. And they are
Oh,
like
by
a
the way,
pretty stingy group. They do not share stuff with others.
also, this is a story, but she hasn't said anything about why here, this place, this flying city, right?
Nope.
Uh, okay,
You can ask
I
if you
understand.
want.
Okay, I understand your story, but what's your relation? Like, why are you doing these things, these events now in this city, Arcanium? What's the relationship, and what are you doing here exactly?
Well, you see, the girl had some power. And by the girl, I mean Ethenia. She had the power to manifest. She had the power to bring things to life and restore to perhaps a certain degree, but still not enough to restore a whole person for a long period of time. That is even out of her capability. But nonetheless, the method she uses is intriguing nonetheless. You saw what happened. You perhaps know about her ability to conjure exact copy of certain individuals. I tweaked the mechanism slightly. I knew that this event would take place, the event where the statues would be turning alive. And I also knew that the statues would have a similar capability as Ethenia. Perhaps not as powerful as the original, but the blueprints will be still there. And what do you think that is powerful enough to boost that blueprint and make, let's say, a permanent construct, but rather than a construct, an actual copy? That would be this. And as she says that, you see the chains around the top of the steps again slightly opens up, and you can see the leaf that is like hovering inside, surrounded by the chains. And she goes, "This is probably the most divine thing you laid your eyes upon. This is a fragment of memory from an elder goddess. It has the power to manifest life itself. It has the power of creation itself
Lady
to a
Shanti?
certain degree." What did you say?
No.
Okay.
Is
And
it
she goes,
related to the goddess of nature?
"Yes, it is. I'm surprised you know of that." And
Is it a
she
fragment
was,
of Santia's memory?
yes, yes, it is exactly what you describe.
In
And I am lending the power from this fragment and using the blueprint of Athenia's ability to make a certain reality or a certain illusion into a complete reality. And that is the remaining shards that you saw on top of the crowns. Those were fragments.
oh,
I think
okay.
you already saw a part of the shard with Ashford, in Ashford's blade to be exact.
Yes.
If one of us were to retain the shard, we or the other one would have a broken soul and would have eventually died in the process. I think that was one of the plans. Reason in his previous lives were also ready to sacrifice himself. I already lived through those lives. I knew about what he planned. Rather than coming to a eventual conflict, I took another approach that was also already done by a certain goddess you are already aware of from perhaps your party member, the Raven Queen. Do you
Yes.
think she is also the original entity that lived the mortal realms and then ascended to godhood? Do you think it's the same person as the goddess a lot of people revere? She pauses for a second, perhaps from a reply from you, Ego.
আচ্ছা,
And
প্রশ্নটা একটু ঠিক বুঝতে পারিনি আসলে কি জানতে চাচ্ছে। বিলিভ করি নাকি
হ্যাঁ,
যে রেভেন রেভেন কুইন হচ্ছে
বলছে
মর্টাল
যে
রেল থেকে
হ্যাঁ,
গডেস।
বলছে যে এইটা যে অ্যাকশনটা নিয়েছে, দিস ইজ নট এ নিউ থিং, সামথিং সিমিলার ওয়াজ অলরেডি ডান, and that was done by a goddess you already know of, or at least heard from your party. Yes. And ওইটার পরে বলছে it was the Raven Queen because মানে do you think that Raven, the mortal Raven Queen and the ascended goddess, the Raven Queen everyone worships now, are the same being to the exact core of it? Do you think they are the same being? সেটা জিজ্ঞেস করছে।
Well, I haven't lived all the time loops or retained all the memories. To my little knowledge, I believe they are.
No, they are not. And at the same time, they are also somewhat the same person. You see, when the Raven Queen, as the laws say, whether you believe it or not, ascended, she was a mere husk. She had no memories. She was built by lending memories from all the people that knew about her when she was alive, or she was immortal to be exact. The current goddess you all revere were created from the thousands of fragments of memories from the followers as they believed the Raven Queen to be. And that shaped around the soul of the Raven Queen. It's not like the soul was not there. It's not just that the memories made the soul, but rather the memories shaped the soul faster to eventually what later came as the Raven Queen. I am the same. This one fragment you see here, and she almost creates an illusion of the crown and goes, this one is the original, this one holds a fragment of my soul. But that is not enough to make this detailed conversation I am having with you. That is where this fake creation came, the creation through Athenia's illusions, and also the siphoned memories I gathered from, let's say, the ones who rely on the Lord's power through me and have knew me prior to the incident that took place certain few years back, where my and Ashford's soul both were fragmented in different parts. You could say that only a mere portion of me is truly real. The majority is just memories holding the soul together. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand somewhat. Memories have power to do things beyond reality. Well, do you know what's going between Toril and Abir, and are aware of the current situation?
She pauses for a mere moment and goes, I have heard that the goddess of that world has shifted or crossed the veil of ours. And I do possess one of the fragments of the said goddess. That is all I know about it.
ওকে, একটা কোশ্চেন।
Mhm.
আমাদের ভিতর হচ্ছে কে যেন
So
ভিশন দেখছিল যে হচ্ছে আহ, যে ওই যে গডেসের মেমোরি ফেরত আনার ব্যাপারটা কে যেন দেখছিল, এটা visionটা? মানে লস্ট
that
মেমোরি।
wasn't directly a vision, that was mostly a hypothesis.
ও না, আমার মনে হয় কেউ যেন এটা এটা ইয়ে পেয়েছিল, মনে হয় অ্যাশফোর্ড, মনে হয় অ্যাশফোর্ড কিছু একটা এরকম কিছু পাইছিল, মানে রিডিল টাইপের কোথা থেকে, গডেস থেকে
হ্যাঁ
বা
হ্যাঁ,
কিছু,
ন্যাশফোর্ড
রাইট?
না, এটা হচ্ছে
অ্যাশফোর্ড না,
আরবানের বুকে আছে।
আমি পাইছিলাম, ওইটা ভীষণ না, ওইটা একটা প্রফেসি পাইছিলাম
হ্যাঁ, ওর বুকে
আমার
এটা
বই
হিসেবে
থেকে।
আসছে।
ওকে, আই লুক এট আরবান,
হুম।
he said about a prophecy about returning the memories of the goddess back to the soul might solve the issue of the both world.
That, I believe, is only this fragmented world you're currently seeing. That will not stop the ultimate end or the ultimate agonization that is coming in the near future. At the end of this,
So, so you're
We
meaning to
need to,
say that
yeah,
we
তুমি বলো।
have been in this, yeah, you're meaning to say that we have been in this iteration for 11 times,
yes.
and each time it ends with without a solution.
And this time it has been worse than the other iterations. Perhaps not the second iteration, but 11th iteration had its, I would say, a twist as well. This goddess getting shunted from her own world and getting thrown into this one. That has not taken place in any of the other previous iterations.
So okay.
This chaos you're witnessing
How
is not in every iteration. This is only the 11th one.
how I point at the leaf. How
Mhm.
did you find that?
I had my eyes, I had people that have means of watching beyond their normal capabilities. Revealing them would only undermine my intention. If you eventually, or your party eventually, get a wrong idea about my actions here.
You are at wrong from the
This
sense
11.
that you are wrong
Okay,
from the moment that you said that you follow a being that being's hunger erases the thing, the epitome of this universe. And the moment you said you do not feel like you have any care for what good or bad the thing does, I see you at wrong. But then again, we have been suffering for quite a while, and your people has been suffering for a huge number of time. I pity you. I hope this whole thing has a solution. I hope that this iterations and madness comes to an end. But I also curse you that you never get out of this madness, that you suffer, and maybe with your people too.
She goes, I am well prepared for that. I have been preparing for that for thousands of years. It is nothing new.
Then I curse that as well, that you don't have the nerve to exceed the pain that will go through you.
Perhaps that will probably my punishment. But if that punishment eventually comes to a fruitful solution, then I will
I
perhaps
hope
bear that.
I hope that becomes a solution for us, not for you.
uh, by the way, okay. By the so this was supposed to be in our mind, like this was supposed to be 10-minute conversation, but the effect of the group chat is gone, long gone.
Yes,
It has
yes.
been gone a
So
long time ago.
we realize at this point that it has been more than an hour outside of some.
We have been realizing it for a not at this point. We have been realizing since the 11th minute that
Oh
it
shit.
has been a long time.
Uh,
It has been
during this,
probably you that has been realizing now.
yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So
he
you
goes,
said
hmm, yeah, you go.
11th time loop. Did all of them include Velmorex?
She pauses for a second and goes, no, he did evolve into this mindless creature that hungers for everything. But in another iteration, the creature ascended to this semi divine form of godhood. That is new as well.
Okay. And the yes.
She goes, she heard the calls of the Lord. And it's not that she only heard it, the calls, she actually was seeking for the call, and that is why the call eventually came. Her part of the pact was already paid, and only what remained was paying the price. And the price was being a host for this current physique, which was something new that is needed by the Lord and was a part of the pact. And
I say
Hmm?
Ego's expression a little hardens, but still he is holding his emotions a little. What
this current body,
actually?
হ্যাঁ, so basically বলছে যে after the fragments, like after getting fragmented, ঠিক আছে, এরিন রে একটা হোস্ট বডি দেওয়ার দরকার ছিল লর্ডের, ঠিক আছে। হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, যেটা মরে পড়ে রয়েছে ওরে দিয়ে হচ্ছে সেই মানে টেম্পোরারি হোস্টটা বানাইছে, ঠিক আছে। না, এখন যে বডিটা আছে দ্যাট ইজ কমপ্লিটলি মেড ফ্রম মানে ইথেনিয়াস ক্রিয়েশন, মানে ইথেনিয়াস ব্লুপ্রিন্ট, সেটাই তো বললো। ইথেনিয়ার অ্যাবিলিটি বেসিক্যালি হচ্ছে ও হচ্ছে কোনো একটা মানে লিভিং বিং এর এক্সাক্ট কপি তৈরি করতে পারে, ঠিক আছে, বাট খুবই লিমিটেড টাইমের জন্য। হ্যাঁ, এবং ওইটা হচ্ছে ডাউন টু দা ভেরি মানে লাস্ট কি বলে মানে পয়েন্ট হচ্ছে একদম সেম হবে কপিটা। হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু এটা যেহেতু লাস্ট করে না এবং এটা যেহেতু কন্টিনিউ করে না, সো দে নিডেড সাম সর্ট অফ পাওয়ার সোর্স টু লাইক বুস্ট দ্যাট অ্যাবিলিটি, আই উড সে। হ্যাঁ, এন্ড সেইটা করছে হচ্ছে আর একটা এল্ডার গডেসের মেমোরি ফ্র্যাগমেন্টের থেকে মানে ডিভিনিটি ড্র করে।
ওই
ঠিক
যে
আছে,
লিফ।
সো বেসিক্যালি ইথেনিয়ার অ্যাবিলিটিটাকে হচ্ছে ব্লুপ্রিন্ট হিসাবে ইউজ করছে, আর গডেসের যে মেমোরি ফ্র্যাগমেন্ট ওইটাকে হচ্ছে ব্যাটারি হিসাবে ইউজ করছে, ঠিক আছে। দেন ওইটা দিয়ে, হ্যাঁ ওইটা দিয়ে না, ওইগুলা হচ্ছে কপি তৈরি করছে, মানে ওইটাই হচ্ছে মেইন তৈরি করছে, ঠিক আছে। বডি তো ফিজিক্যাল একটা শরীর না। হ্যাঁ, না, একটা শার্ট একটা রিয়াল ছিল, যেটা হচ্ছে ওই মেয়েটার গায়ে ছিল, যে শার্টটা ওইটা একটা রিয়াল শার্ট ছিল, ঠিক আছে। হ্যাঁ, দুইটা। হ্যাঁ, ওই দুইটা পায় নাই। না, বাকি চারটা না, তোর দুইটা প্লাস বাকি যে দুইটা মিসিং ছিল, ঠিক আছে, ওইটার একটা রেপ্লিকা তৈরি করছে ফ্রম দ্য মেমোরিজ অফ দ্য পিপল
আচ্ছা,
হাউ দে রিমেম্বার্ড হার, ঠিক আছে। ওটা হচ্ছে actual। হুম, হুম। হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ। সো কারেন্ট
আচ্ছা।
সোলটাও,
তো
কারেন্ট সোলটাকে এভাবে চিন্তা করতে পারিস যে 20% হচ্ছে অ্যাকচুয়াল সোল আর 80% হচ্ছে সিমুলাক্রাম সোল বেসিক্যালি। হ্যাঁ, না, বডিটাও একটা ক্রিয়েশন।
ওকে, সো স্ট্যাচু স্ট্যাচু
হ্যাঁ, মানে
তো
ইলুশনই বলা যায় না, ওটা অলমোস্ট মানে রিয়েল থ্রু ইথেনিয়াস অ্যাবিলিটি।
তো
হ্যাঁ, আলটিমেটলি ইলুশন।
তো তো তোর হচ্ছে শার্টটা হচ্ছে টেকনিক্যালি প্রসেসর, আর হচ্ছে তোর ইথেনিয়ার স্ট্যাচুটা হচ্ছে হার্ডওয়্যার, আর তোর ব্যাটারিটা হচ্ছে ওই লিফ।
হার্ডওয়্যার কোনটা বললি?
আর ইথেনিয়ার ওই স্ট্যাচু মানে যে বডি এখন ধরে আছে।
স্ট্যাচু কিছুই নেই, ইথেনিয়াস স্ট্যাচুটাই ব্লুপ্রিন্ট বেসিক্যালি।
ওই তো হ্যাঁ, ওই সেটা আমি সেভাবেই বলছি আর কি। ওটা হচ্ছে ইয়ে, আর ব্যাটারি হচ্ছে লিফ, এবং হচ্ছে তোর শার্টটা হচ্ছে তোর মেইনলি CPU টাইপের
Creation,
প্রসেসর।
Lithuania
creation,
মনে আছে?
creation.
Lithuania is
না,
dead.
এটা মনে নাই।
Okay. He's so ego like hardens his face and still say this solution you speak of. What actually are you looking for, or what do you consider as a solution? And also, I want to know, memories are kind of as from all the discussion, and I understand
So the
memories.
solution is
Yeah,
this. This time, rather than the epoch or the herald, who usually loops back the time, this time I will be taking the helm, and this time with the help of the Lord. The loop will be again continued, but this time the loop will not return 30 years back. If I were to able to succeed, this time the loop will revert back to more than 11,000 years.
wait.
And
Oh, একটা জিনিস,
mm,
DM, the loop was created to find a solution, right?
yes,
So if the loop is not occurring again,
mm,
then it might be they are intentionally doing it because they feel like this is a solution. They're
could be.
going towards. Can I? Hello.
You can ask or do whatever you wish, your wish.
What if? Okay. What if the herald and peacock aren't causing the time loop because the current time is heading toward a possible solution, and you are just considering about the time loop because of the pact have done. You want to fulfill your Lord's wish, and as far as I can see, memories can be manipulated. You have lived to 11 time loops. I kind of feel like your Lord is manipulating you.
You may think like that, but there was no visible solution. I believe the epoch and as well as the herald has given up. They probably wish to see till the ending. Or perhaps they were also affected by this otherworldly being because they were indeed torn to the plan that the elder devil had in mind. So if you
Have you,
have a thorn that is practically prisoning him from encapsulating this entire dimension, you first take out the thorn and then you proceed with your eventual domination. So I'm not
what
quite
if,
sure
or
if the heralds are alive or the epoch is even alive.
you don't know they are dead as well. You do not have any proof of their being dead as well.
Yes, I do not have that
Or
proof, but I have
as I
met the
said,
ones in this loop and
as
they
I
did not
said,
seem hopeful. Hmm.
okay, as I said,
Hmm.
this timeline might be heading to a solution. That's why they aren't doing it.
Or it could be a disaster next morning.
That's
I
the
am
thing.
not.
You don't have a proof of yours. I currently don't have a proof, but I believe what I believe.
So, are you willing to head toward an eventual future that is certainly going to doom us all? Or try to loop the time until you find a actual solution that you can actually rely on?
Death is written to all mortals.
It is not
It's the
death
ending.
I
My
fear.
God. Oh my
It is
God.
not death I fear. It is an endless suffering that I fear
Calm
for
down,
not only
Arvan.
my people, for all the people.
Every suffering has to end, and my
Oh
ending
my
is
God. Oh
unavoidable.
my God.
Did you not
Pranjal,
hear what I
Pranjal, মিউট
said?
করো, তোমার যদি শুনতে না ভালো লাগে না, পেন্ট করো, শুন।
No, I'm saying it. I'm saying
Sashi
it.
Ghosh, Did you not hear what I said? You said every suffering has to end, but that is not the case. My people has been in this endless suffering. That is the point of the loop, an endless suffering. It does not need to end. That is
Have
why it's
you
called a loop.
have you seen the end?
No one did, and no one can verify
That is
either.
there. If you
If
keep doing
she
the
has
time loop,
seen the
if you
end,
keep doing the time
why?
loop, then you won't.
You did not get it. I do not wish to continue the time loop like for eternity until we came to a solution. That is the point.
So, in the last word, what are you proposing here? I would like to hear that.
I need certain help. This time, as I said,
There,
hmm,
there won't be any help regarding Pandora. Other than that,
that,
what help?
that is not for you to decide. I do not need your help on that either. And she looks towards reason again, and this time she goes, the final, or at least the loop that I will be helping, that requires me to enter a certain place. And the place is sealed in a extra, let's say, dimension where only the epoch and the herald have access to. No other being, not even the gods, have means of entering this realm. But there is another way other than the epoch and the herald, and that is where Ashford comes in. You see, I cannot wield more than the power that is coming out from this one crystal as a high apostle of nihility. But that is not the case for everyone, at least not for one certain individual. She looks toward reason and goes, perhaps maybe lend that sword to your friend for a mere few seconds. That will make it easier to explain. না, অ্যাশফোর্ডের সোর্ডরে আরবানের দিতে বলছে। হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ। Yes. Mhm. Well, if you have already seen it, then it becomes easier to explain. I can only wield three of the shards that contain the soul of Pandorim. I have one with me currently. And that is all I can draw power from, although a fragment of it. I need to enter a place, like I said, that is sealed by both the herald and as well as the epoch. And that seal needs to be severed. And like I said, no other gods can sever it, but Pandarim does have with his domain and portfolio. But for that, he needs at least a much bigger portion of him altogether in one entity when he severs the seal itself. Three of the fragments need to host a certain individual for at least few moments for which Pandarim can use to sever the seal. I cannot do it. I can only wield one of the shards. But I believe from my past knowledge, or at least from another timeline, Ashford is able to wield at least two, or at least momentarily be in contact with two of the shards. I need him to be in contact with three of them. He then will sever the seal, and then we can proceed with the third loop.
In the previous loops, have you tried the same thing?
No, I have not, but he did came in contact with two of the seals. Two of the shards.
Any changes in him? As shards of a greater evil does corrupt things. But as far as I know, Ashford, that's hard.
She goes, he was able to briefly be in contact with two of the shards, and it did have a long effect on his health, but eventually he will recover from that. But
Did,
anyone else other than him, forget about wielding three of the shards, they will die from the contact of the first. They will forget they ever existed. And that is where Ashford comes in. He needs to wield three of the shards for a brief
did
moment to break the seal.
did we meet you in the previous time loops, all of us?
Not exactly. I have met few of you, but not in a group as in this one. There were different array of groups that were made by each of you. I can't clearly
Every
confirm for every one of you, but
every
at least some of you.
every every iteration brings a new time. Understandable.
Yes, the timelines are not exactly the similar. There are changes, and that changes is what the Epoch and the Herald was looking for, because they wanted a change that could come to a solution. But it seems like they have, after the 11th roll, given up all hopes and just waiting for the eventual demise, which they don't understand the severity of.
And,
Ashford,
yes.
কি কি বললা? Okay.
None. And that is why you are the only solution. And if you are a only solution to the path towards I path towards the promise I made with Pandarim, then I am in contract or I am in bound by the contract to go through either by negotiation or by force if I need to.
By force, you lose this iteration and come to a new one with a new beginning and perhaps a bigger problem.
Do
Exactly.
you do you completely retain all of your memories of the past?
She goes, not exactly. The parts that the Lord shares with me, she cannot or he cannot share the entire life with me. But the parts that I do get shared, they are true. They are not altered nor they are fabricated. You
You
can
look
call it
desperate,
you can
Erin.
call it you can call it like a regular vision of another life you have lived through.
So as for the telepathy,
You
here's so she only retains those memories that her Lord allows. I have telepathy by the Gem Dragon.
So you get the idea that she, as a mortal, does not recall anything of the previous life. She does not have the power to do that. No one has, because মানে প্যান্ডোরিম erases everything from even the gods. আর মর্টালদের কাছে তো এমনও লাগে না, ঠিক আছে,
হ্যাঁ,
যখন রিভার্ট করে টাইম তারা এমনিই ভুলে যায়।
তো সেটা
বাট
বুঝছি। আমি তো আমার কথা তো ঠিক আছে যে হ্যাঁ,
ফর হার ওইটা হচ্ছে দ্য প্যান্ডোরিম হিমসেলফ হচ্ছে লেন্ডিং some of the memories of the previous
হ্যাঁ,
life
হ্যাঁ।
through visions, like অনেকটা যে প্রফেসির মতো, ঠিক আছে।
তো তো আমার কথা তো ঠিক আছে যে অনলি সেই সব মেমোরি আছে তার কাছে যেগুলো হচ্ছে লর্ড।
বাট এটাও কনফার্ম করছে যে যতটুকু মেমোরি দিচ্ছে তাকে সবগুলো হচ্ছে ট্রুথফুল, নান অফ দেম আর ফ্যাব্রিকেটেড।
to her, probably.
টু হার দ্য মেমোরিজ। আমি ওইটুকুই বলছি।
হ্যাঁ
only
Depends on the
only
হ্যাঁ,
she
ইউ ক্যান
only has those
ask from
memories
that.
that her Lord allowed.
yeah.
You can ask her that, you can confirm that if you want to.
না সে তো বলছে।
You, Erin, you
Oh,
you said that every iterations, uh, this iteration is quite different and quite troublesome. It seems. What lets you have a belief that the next one would be better?
You seem to have looked at the surrounding and think that this is as worse as it can get, but that is
No,
certainly not. It
I am
can
not
get
saying
far
it is
worse.
not. That is my point. It can be far worse, and negotiation is your only key here. If you go to the force,
She goes,
you have to rely on the next iteration then.
so Arvan,
Because
you are an intelligent guy, you would understand.
I am intelligent and that's what I am
And,
saying it.
and she goes,
Any harm to us
hmm?
results Ashford forever forgetting your contract, as far as I know, Ashford. He would rather die than give it to you.
Repeat, give what?
He
he
would
would
rather
rather die than
die
give
to
it to
give
you.
in to you
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, give in to you, আচ্ছা হ্যাঁ।
Okay, give it to you. Give it to you inside. No.
Anyways, I got the idea. She goes, that is why I'm trying to pursue it. If the persuasion does not work, then the force comes in.
Will never result in your favor.
You may,
Yeah, we are
but
talking.
after that, I will be fine lining the request I will be making with you. Or do you perhaps want to hear that first before you make your own wish? In that case, you can go ahead first.
একটু নিচুর দিকে ঝুঁকে থাকে, ইয়া ইয়া।
Hmm. Hmm. I am quite well aware of that. Hmm. And by slay and destroy you, you meant Erin, right? Acha. Mhm. She goes, you may go with the first and second one. I will not be opposing that. But the last one, I don't think I have the authority to promise or deny anything over that. That is something you can choose yourself. And the Lord will take action by Himself. Indeed, He will. But then comes my conditions. You're saying something else? Hmm. She, you see, holds the staff for a second and she goes, the Lord agrees with the terms, but in return, He also wants to make a written contract with you. And the contract will be that in 2 months,
Oh shoot.
I will be arriving to the gate of নাম কই গেল?
No ending. Name of Gate of no ending.
I will
Gate of
be
no ending.
arriving at the gate of Nixel.
Close.
NYXEL. I will be arriving at the gate of Nixel. And
ম্যাপে আছে?
nah. And
Okay.
she goes, at the time, I will have 3 of the shards with which will be required to break the gate or break the seal itself. The Lord wants a contract with you. At that point, when the time comes in 2 months, you will have to wield 3 of the Lord's shards, the shards that hold the soul of the Lord. And aid him for a minute to sever the seal that is blocking the entrance to the mechanism that reverts the time loop or activates the time loop. My lord seems to be confident that in 2 months, 3 of the shards will be gathered. She, you see, thinks for a second and goes, "You have your wishes, and the Lord seems to be adamant on his wish as well. I am not completely aware of the Lord's plan, but he wishes it to be done in 2 months. You are to wield the shards in 2 months. You are to use the power that you will draw from the Lord. If you survive, that is, that's also something I am giving you information of. You do that, sever the seal, and the 3 promises you also ask, those will be given to you. You you seem to have a wrong idea here as well. It's not only that you are getting, which you have already made a point of. If you do not wish to adhere to the Lord's word, then not only I will have to able to take you by force, then I'll also have to follow through my initial plan, which is to slay one of your friends here right now before you, before I take you with me. He gave you 2 months for the solution you might be coming with. But mm, mm, you you see, she thinks for a bit, and
We are facing a lot of problems aside from the time loop. Two worlds are merging together. We also have to deal with Velmorex. A
none
lot
of
of
those
things.
will be an issue if the loop continues, and if you also retain the memories of the 11th loop, you might perhaps try to prevent that in the 12th loop.
Yes, 2 months is very, very little.
I may ask the Lord of the reason, but I'm not sure if he will answer to that. And you see, Erin thinks for a moment and goes, "You may try to find the solution within 6 months, no more a day than that. If you do find it within the 6 months, then you can take whatever actions you may deem necessary. But at the point of that 6 months, you are to follow through the contract that the Lord has proposed. That is the final offer the Lord is willing to entail for you."
I asked for telepathy. Wait, let me ask. Telepathy. Ashford. এটা অসুবিধা না, আমার টেলিপ্যাথি আসছে, আমি জাস্ট বলছি আর কি, অসুবিধা নেই। আমি তোমাকে জাস্ট ওয়েট করতে বলছি, আমি ওকে হচ্ছে ইসের দিকে তাকিয়ে বলতেছি। ইউ সেড Ashford held 2 shards, right? The
Yes,
last time look.
yes, he did.
Why?
I do not have the memory of it, but the Lord knows that he could at least 2 of them.
You said 11 time loop.
Yes,
Are you sure? Could it be more than 11?
perhaps, but what does it matter? The solutions were not found in those
Could
11.
could you have this process? You say the using R1 to hold the 3 shards might have already
Arvan,
been
Ashford,
already.
Ashford, Ashford.
Ashford holding these shards and doing the time loop has already been done before.
Dar Arvan at idini call deni. সাদমানা তো কারেন্ট গেছে।
আর ভালো কথা, 12টা বাজে, আমার সকালে উঠা লাগবে, আমি এখন খাওয়া দাওয়া করিনি।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, শেষ
আর
করবো, এখন শেষ করবো।
সোয়া 12টার ভিতর শেষ করে ফেলে, আমি থাকতে পারবো না।
হুম।
আমি আসি, আমারে কল দেন কে?
তোরা কোশ্চেন জিজ্ঞেস করতেছে।
তৌসিফ ভাই কথাই শুনি নাই, আপনি কি কর? তৌসিফ ভাই কর, তৌসিফ ভাইয়ের কথা শুনি নাই। তৌসিফ ভাই কি জিজ্ঞেস করছে?
না,
হ্যাঁ বল বল, এবার বল। লাস্টের টুকু শুনি নাই, কল আসছিল তো, তার আগের টুকু। লাস্টে তো তোর হচ্ছে এই যে তুই যেটুকু বললি বিশের সাথে, এরপরে হচ্ছে তৌসিফ ভাই কথা বলা শুরু করলো, ওর পরে আর শুনি নাই। হ্যাঁ 6 মাসের না তো 2 মাসের।
পরে 6 মাস
মানে
2
পর্যন্ত
মাস থেকে 6 মাস, 2 মাস থেকে 6 মাস ওরা।
ওকে drastic. Yeah. 6 months would be enough for us to move around in probably if we need to go to Abbey, we have to. And then think about what is going on with this tree and Shantia. I think we can manage in 6 months. We have done a lot in a month. Not gonna lie.
আর আমি যে কনভারসেশন করছি সেটা তো শুনছো, রাইট?
ইয়া ওটা শুনছি। লাস্টে কি জানি বললেন আপনি? একদম
তো
লাস্ট।
আমি জিজ্ঞেস করছি, ও তো বলছে যে
ওই যে ওই কোশ্চেনটাই কি জিজ্ঞেস করছেন? হ্যাঁ।
হ্যাঁ আমি বলতেছি তো, আগে একটা টাইম লুপে অ্যাশফোর্ডকে দিয়ে হচ্ছে দুটো শার্ট ধরাইছিল, কিন্তু
হ্যাঁ।
কেন সেটা হচ্ছে সে বলতে পারতেছে না। কেন ধরছিল বা কি কাজে? তো হয়তো এই টাইম লুপটা, এই যে কাজটা সে করতে যাচ্ছে, সে অলরেডি করছে এটা। আসলে হেরাল্ড আর পিকন এখনো সেটা, সে টাইম লুপ গুলো করতেছে না, সে করাচ্ছে এই টাইম লুপ গুলো
সেটা
অ্যাশফোর্ডকে দিয়ে।
ওয়েট করেন, আমি দেখি। এরিন, your memories that you get from the Lord, you said, how much do you think they are not fabricated?
By pact, those are to be told with no fabrication or delivered to me with no fabrication. So even the great Lord can't lie about it or fabricate it.
Maybe
You
not.
have you have a written part on it in the pact?
Yes, I do have a written part,
So
or at least a verbal agreement to be exact.
so
Verbal agreement to be exact.
no
Erin,
fabricated
you know the fun
memories.
thing about pacts? Erin, do
No.
you know the fun thing about pacts?
Do enlighten me.
Verbal agreement hold very less, but if you think that they are not fabricated, they are not fabricated to you, and that doesn't break the pact.
I mean, I am my own self. I realize what is fabrication and what is not. And it is not even that I remember in a past loop that I made a contact. It is at the start of every loop that I renew this contact. Because
Yes,
I'm not
I'm
aware of the
saying
previous loops.
that unless you have a proof that you have a fabricated memory, you cannot prove that you do have a fabricated memory. And if you cannot prove that you have a fabricated memory, maybe your Lord is giving you fabricated memory.
If you if you want to clarify that, I have also made sure that my current memory at the time of holding the contract, whether it's fabricated or if any of the previous memory I retain are fabricated, both the cases are not fabricated at that point in the time, as well as in the futures when I do recall those moments. They do not get changed in the futures as well as the time passes. I have went through the fine lines.
You have went through the fine lines, but depends on the part that is how much fine line have you defined in your written contract. That holds.
The issues with the memories being fabricated or not, I'm not sure about that, but
That is not our
you
concern.
are
That is her
you
concern.
you are but you are sure
Because
that you are not getting
do
your
you
whole
want
memory.
to do you want to make do you want to see me make the contract or renew the contract at this point in the moment to see whether my memory is uh, altered? You can all
Not
witness the moment.
no, not altered. I'm not sure about it, but Are you are definitely sure that you are not getting
Are we
your
still
whole
under
memory?
the veil, TM?
Hmm?
Are we
Yes,
still under the veil?
you are in the, at least what perhaps Ashford knows it as, in the fortress of Method, inside the fortress.
Okay. Damn, আমি যেটা বলছি। So
It seems
you
to
definitely
be, for Ashford, it seems to be the chamber where Ethenia used to reside.
Okay, go on.
Oh, sorry,
from
Ethenia,
your
sorry, Erin.
from the conversation, I'm
Hmm.
not sure about the memories being fabricated or not, but I'm definitely sure you're not getting your complete memories. Like some memories are missing. You
That
can't
is
remember.
definitely. You do not need to ask of my pact if that is true or not. I already know that I cannot hold all the memories.
Memories.
You cannot hold
Why
all the
can't you?
memories. Yes,
Memories
yes.
don't.
But there is a
Memories.
process, ego. You wouldn't understand that. It's not like a simple term that one timeline can hold another timeline's memory. It is something of a greater being that can give you that power.
Well,
Yes.
what
And
if
fabrication
those?
doesn't always mean that you have to have false memory. Fabrication may just mean that you are given the memory that fits you.
Yes, it encapsulates all of the possibilities.
So I'm
What
saying
if
that
the missing memories are important?
that is the point.
Perhaps the memory that is missing might indeed be not in favor of the Lord Himself as well, but the ones that does come out is a certain fact, and those require me to take actions.
It is understandable at this point that you are absolutely on your duty to fulfill the pact and bring your people peace, rather not caring about the fact that there could be a way around or perhaps a lapse. Fucking Trump, isn't it? Exactly. Understandable.
If you, I'm telepathically saying this to Ashmore. If you agree and it's a contract, 6 months will be fixed.
Anyways, where we were on our contracts.
আচ্ছা
The contract would be written right away. I will not be waiting for another meeting. The Lord is here. I am here as well to represent the Lord. And you are here as well as your friends who can perhaps witness to it.
আচ্ছা এই পর্যন্ত কি সেশন রাখবো মানে এই ডিসিশনটা নেওয়ার আগে ফিরে
না, কন্ট্রাক্টটা শেষ হোক যদি হয়। আচ্ছা। হুম। Let us do that then. I think your friend there would prefer it if the contract was made in a form of written contract. I'll I will give you the time to think about it. Use the room as you see fit. I'll be in the next room.
The golems. The veil is out, right? Or
No, the veil is still there. You guys are still what seemed like a fortress. হ্যাঁ, 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 হ্যাঁ,
আচ্ছা
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ। So তোদেরকে ডিসকাস করতে দিছে যে you guys take time to come up with the contract or whatever.
আচ্ছা আমরা কি আজকে এই পর্যন্ত রাখবো নাকি?
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, আমরা এই পর্যন্তই রাখবো। এই
কারণ
পর্যন্ত রাখবো।
কারণ
তোরা রিটেন ডকুমেন্ট
এটা
আমি রিটেন ডকুমেন্ট
মানে কারণ হচ্ছে এইটাও একটা মোটামুটি বড় ডিসিশন। আরফান ভাই থাকলেও বেশ ভালো
হ্যাঁ,
হতো
হ্যাঁ।
এটা।
হুম।
আর এত
Okay,
রাত হয়ে গেছে, আমি এখন খাবো দাবো, ঘুমাবো।
so XP for those who were present for the meeting মানে হচ্ছে 6 জন I guess নাকি? আরপান ভাই বাদে। So each one of you get 4,200 XP.
তুই লেভেল আপ
যোগ করে দেখে নেন, এটা আমার ক্যাম্পেইন না।
11 7 9 1 0। দীপ
বল।
তোমার তো এক্সপি ছিল হচ্ছে 11 7 9 10 না?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, স্যাপ লাগানো পাতা। পুরা
I mean, who would have known যে এল্ডার এভিলের সাথে কন্ট্রাক্ট হবে?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ আমরা জানতাম যে এটা তোর ক্যাম্পেইন, কয়েকটা প্যাক না হলে হবে না।
না, not really.
আমাদের 13 লেভেল হচ্ছে এটা প্যাক না, এটা রিটেন কন্ট্রাক্ট। কন্ট্রাক্টস এন্ড
হ্যাঁ,
প্যাকস আর
কন্ট্রাক্ট।
ডিফারেন্ট।
ওই তো কন্ট্রাক্ট।
সো
আমরা
এইখানে
আছি
হচ্ছে আমরা এখন হচ্ছে আমাদের এক্সপি হচ্ছে 15,900, সরি 15 না, 1,59,910।
কি
তাইলে কি করছি আমি? হ্যাঁ ঠিকই তো আছে, হ্যাঁ ঠিকই তো আছে। 1,19 না, 1,00,000 সরি 1,00,000 হুম
1,17,910।
হ্যাঁ 917,910। এখন হবে কত? 5,000 পাইছি আমরা। আমরা
আমরা
লেভেল
লেভেল
আপ,
আপ করছি,
আমরা
আমরা
লেভেল
লেভেল
আপ।
আপ করছি। 1,20,000 হচ্ছে 13 লেভেল, 1,30,000 হচ্ছে 1,20,000 হচ্ছে 13 লেভেলের ইয়ে।
রিফাত ভাই,
হুম,
আই এম মেকিং দ্যাট স্পেল।
ওকে।
I need the wings of nihility.
লেভেল আপ কত এক্সপি তে?
1,20,000 আমরা পাইছি।
110।
So, আরপান ভাই প্রবাবলি মানে থাকবে আরো কিছুক্ষণ, মানে 12 লেভেলে। বাকিরা আপাতত 13 লেভেলে আছো, ঠিক আছে?
আমাদের তো এখনো আর্ক এন্ডিং এক্সপি তো এখনো আসে নাই।
Nope.
একবারে 14।
আর্ক এন্ডিং এক্সপি ডিপেন্ড করে রেজাল্টের উপরে, ঠিক আছে, নট জাস্ট কন্টিনিউটির উপরে। কন্টিনিউটির এক্সপিটা হচ্ছে আজকে পাইছিস।
আমি জানি কি যাবো। এই ভালো কথা,
স্পেল
ভালো কথা দীপ।
ইয়া রোল।
ভালো কথা দীপ, তুমি ক্লেরিক কয় লেভেল নিছো? 8 লেভেল ক্লেরিক? তাহলে আমি 1 লেভেল আছে, 1 লেভেল নিছিলাম।
দেখছি আজকে আমরা 12টায় শেষ করছি, কিন্তু উই ওয়ার ট্রু টু আওয়ার ওয়ার্ডস।
12:15।
ওই তো, ওটা 5-10 মিনিট ইগনোর করতে হয়।
এইচপি হচ্ছে
আমাদের আজকে পুরো একটা মানে সেশন গেছে উইথ অনলি 2টা না 3টা রোলে।
কনভারসেশন
আপনাদের লাস্ট সেশন আমাদের সাথে আমার সাথে লাস্ট সেশন তো গেছে 3 রোলে, 3 না 4 রোল গেছে। ওটাও
না
তো
বাট এখানে
কনভারসেশন
না রোল গেছে ওইখানে, ওই যে প্রিস্টের সাথে কথা বলার
হ্যাঁ
সময়
প্রিস্টের সাথে কথা বলার সময় রোল গেছিল 5-6টা। হ্যাঁ ট্রু।
হ্যাঁ তারপর হচ্ছে এর আর এর মধ্যে গেছে।
আবার ওই যে ইসের অনেকগুলো রোল গেছিল। ট্রু।
হ্যাঁ,
মানে রোল হিসেবে, কিন্তু লাস্ট সেশন আমারটাও কনভারসেশনই ছিল মোস্ট।
কনভারসেশন রোল গেছে, মানে কমব্যাট রোল যায় না সেটা বলতেছি।
কমব্যাট রোল যায়নি।
আর এটাই কনভারসেশন রোলও যায় না, এটাই খালি কনভারসেশন গেছে খালি।
ওকে, হিয়ার ইট কামস।
ওকে
26।
ওকে, অ্যাশফোর্ড এভারেজ, এয়ারবান্দরিল, ও মা 5
ন্যাচারাল ওয়ান। কাম অন
রিরোল।
আরেকটা রিরোল। ওয়েট, why 1d6?
সরসারার
ফাইনালি মাল্টিক্লাস করছে।
12 লেভেল প্যালাডিন, 1 লেভেল
হচ্ছে 5 আর 4 9, 9 আর 2 11। আমি 136। কত?
এভারেজের কম। ও আবার টাফ আছে।
রিফাত ভাই আমি 136।
136, ওকে। আই মিন এমনি তোর এইচপি আকাশে, তার উপরে আবার